All right. Hi, friends. So May 6th, 2026, Team Winners Wednesday call. Okay. So I was thinking about what topic did I want to do this month and usually, or this week. And usually when I'm thinking about this, I kind of think about what am I working on in my business and what do I feel like something is that, I need to perfect, right? So tonight is about, I know that if you guys have been taking my advice from trainings that we've had, we are messaging people and everything. Um, and so tonight is kind of more about like how to get more of those conversations to actually close the deal, right? Close the sale or actually get them jumping on your team. So like what happens when somebody ghosts you and being able to identify maybe reasons why the conversation isn't moving along. So this is all about from conversation to conversion, okay? Um, I want to know, has anybody been left on red this week in any messages? Maybe nod your head or put it in the chat. I know I have. I've been left on red. Meaning they read the message but never responded, right? So what do we do then? And how do we understand why people aren't responding and maybe where to go from there? And even when people are responding, how to actually turn it into a sale or somebody actually joining your team, right? So first, I think it's important to understand why people aren't responding. So I have four different, and this is going to be in the notes I'll share with you guys when I post the replay. But I have found there's like four types of people, like reasons why they haven't responded. And usually it's nothing to take personal. Okay. So first off is the overwhelmed person, right? They're just overwhelmed with life in general, or we sent them too much information too fast and they shut down. So the solution is to simplify it and guide them. And I'm going to have more specifics about each of these types of people. First, we're just doing like an overview. The second person is the unsure person. Either they're unsure about the products, they don't know if they can trust the products, they don't know if they trust themselves to maybe join your team, kind of depending on what type of conversation you're having. Or maybe they don't see the value. Right? I think that's a big one. They haven't yet seen the value of it. So the solution is like relate, normalize where their hesitation is coming from, and then we want to make sure they see the value and the benefits of the products or of joining your team. The third type of person is the busy person. They saw the message, but they forgot to respond. Anybody ever do that? I know I haven't. In fact, I've gotten in the habit of if I know I don't have time to respond to messages, I don't open them. So this solution to this is just reopen the conversation casually, and we're going to talk about specifics. The fourth type of person is they don't see themselves in it. So they don't believe this is for them. So we want to help them envision the outcome. You can share your own hesitations with the products or the company, and then share what you found to be true. Okay. So we have to remember, like, silence doesn't mean no. Sometimes it means confusion, distraction, or hesitation. So it's like working through that. So first, let's talk about how to actually talk to each of these, how to reapproach each of these four types of people. Okay. So the overwhelmed person, they've got too much information. They weren't sure where to start, or they disengaged. And a lot of this actually, if you have people on your team, this can totally relate to people on your team too. So not only like customers and prospects, but it might be people on your team. So the goal is to simplify and guide them. So we want to remove decision fatigue. So how do we reapproach? We acknowledge it might have been a lot. We narrow the focus down for them and offer a simple starting point. So here's an example for pharmacy, an example script, something you could say after maybe they didn't respond or the conversation died. I realize I might have sent you too much at once. If you could focus on one thing right now, would it be more for energy, skin, or your overall routine? I can really simplify it for you. So you're just kind of opening up, back up the conversation, right? And that could kind of go for either if they're thinking about being a customer or a prospect. Here's a Clio example. I think I gave you too many options at once. If you had to choose, would you want something more neutral or something fun? I can just show you 2 easy picks and then see what they say. And then we give them 2 ideas based on their what they said, right? So we don't want to resend all the information. We want to try to make the decision smaller. And you guys know I always talk about not overwhelming anyways, but sometimes we get excited and it's easy to just like send all this information, and I'm guilty of it too. And then people feel overwhelmed and they shut down. So we want to try to make the decision a little smaller. Let's talk about the unsure person. So what's happening? They're interested, but they don't trust themselves to follow through or succeed, and they don't trust the product, or see the true value of the product or the company or the business opportunity, right? So the goal is to build confidence and reduce pressure. So how do we reapproach these people? We want to normalize that hesitation is real. Relate to their experience by sharing your own experience and show how simple or doable it really is. So I've got a couple of examples for you guys, and these are all in the notes, so you'll see them and be able to look back at them. So for pharmacy example, I remember feeling unsure before I started too. I didn't actually know if I would stick with it. I didn't know if I would make any money. But are you more sure about the products or staying consistent? So we're like asking them a really purposeful question to find out where their hesitation is coming from. Is it the products, or is it they're worried about being consistent? What is it that's kind of holding them back? And you could word these questions in a lot of different ways. And if you go into ChatGTP and you take our notes, by the way, and you copy and paste it right into ChatGTP, and then you share a screenshot of a conversation that you had with ChatGTP, and you say you want to kind of follow this format, ChatGTP will help you with what to say too. If you need more ideas. Leo example, I get feeling hesitant. I didn't know if I would be good at applying the nails either. Or I didn't know if they would last, and pop off or whatever. But what part are you unsure about? Application or how long they actually last? So you kind of are finding out what is actually holding them back. And they might just say, yeah, I'm really interested, but I just don't have the money right now, right? That's often a response that you'll get when you ask a question like that. And that's always when I offer information about the opportunity. And I start with relating to them. Like, I completely understand. I don't know how I would be getting by without my side business income. Have you thought about doing anything at all like this to bring in extra income? I would love to partner with you and see what they say. I always respond in that way, one or the other, if somebody talks about money being an issue. So the coaching point here is we don't push, we just help them feel comfortable and capable. Okay, let's dive into the busy person. So what's happening with the busy person? They saw your message, they meant to respond, but they got distracted and forgot, right? Totally happens. So we're just going to reopen the conversation without pressure, keep it light, low commitment, assume positive intent, always assume the best of people, and just ask an easy question in order to re-engage them. So for example, with pharmacy, we might say something like, hey, I know life gets so busy and I just wanted to circle back. Were you still wanting something simple to help you stay on track, or are you good for now? And obviously that message might be a little different depending on what they were interested in, right? Cleo example, hey, I know things get hectic, so I wanted to check back in. Were you still thinking about trying the nails, or did now not end up being a good time? And again, if they say it's a money thing, I'm going to talk to them about the opportunity. I want to help them make more money. But we don't want to guilt them or just say, just following up with you again. We want to keep it relaxed, and we know that real life happens and people get busy. And I just got an order today, actually, from somebody who I just sent a message like that to. I had talked to her a few times. Actually, I got several orders in the last couple of days by doing my follow-ups from people that said they were interested but never shopped. One gal was like, oh my gosh, I just totally forgot. Another gal was like, well, I was just kind of waiting and making sure it was going to be right for me, but I've been watching your videos and I think I'm ready, right? So people appreciate your reminder to follow up. Let's talk about the fourth person. They just don't see themselves in it person. So they don't think the product or the opportunity fits their life or their identity. So our goal is to help them see themselves in it. So how do we reapproach? Make it relatable to their lifestyle, paint a simple, realistic picture, and remove any assumptions that they might have. So for pharmacy, it could be something like, hey, I was thinking about you because you're always on the go. What I like about this is it's not really complicated. You can keep it simple and still see results. What kind of routine works better for you? And that's really broad. These are really broad examples. You'll probably want to get a little more specific with what you say based on if they're interested in the opportunity or products and what they're actually interested in if it's products, right? So I would kind of tailor it to be a little more specific. These are super broad. And Cleo example, I thought of you because you're always busy and don't have time for salon appointments. Like, girl, I get it. Me neither, right? This is something you can do at home in minutes and be done. Would you like something that fits your schedule better? So you're kind of reminding them again of why they were interested in the first place, right? And we just want to make sure we don't over-explain things. We're just giving them an example of how this fits into their life. So how do we identify the type? If you ask yourself this question, did I send too much? They're probably overwhelmed. Ask yourself, did they seem hesitant or unsure? That's the easy one. They're just unsure, right? Did they engage and then disappear? They're probably busy. Did they never fully lean in? Probably not seeing the value of it and seeing it for themselves, right? So how do we respond more effectively in general? I have like a framework for you guys. And it starts out with a statement, a question, relate, and invite. And we're not just sending a script. We do want to kind of try to tailor it. These are just examples, but we do want to make our conversation feel natural, specific, and guided. And if you're trying to copy and paste the same message to everyone, in these types of cases especially, it's going to be obvious. If it's more like your first time reaching out, I think copy and paste might work just fine. But we always want to make sure it's relatable to the person. So how about when somebody showed interest, but they went silent with pharmacy, maybe skincare, wellness products? So we're starting out with the statement, then a question, relate, and invite. So something made me think of you when I was using my products this morning. Have you still been wanting something simple to stay consistent with? So me, I'm thinking about people who have been saying they're interested in my system that helped me drop a pant size in 1 month, right? I know for me, I kept starting and stopping until I found something that was easy to stick with. Do you want me to show you exactly what I've been using? Cleo example. Okay, I have to ask, have you still been thinking about trying the nails? I put a fresh set on this week and I forgot how much time they saved me. I used to skip doing my nails because I didn't have time for the salon either. Do you want me to help you pick a set that would work for you? So we're asking a question, we're relating to them, right? And then we're offering a solution and an invite. So what about somebody who asked for info, but they didn't buy? So here's a pharmacy example. And I'm kind of thinking of bundles or like the systems that we have available. I was thinking about you because you mentioned wanting to be more consistent. What was the biggest thing you were hoping to improve? Energy, skin, or your overall routine? And of course, depends on what you talked about. I had to narrow it down for myself too, or I would have done nothing or bought everything. Do you want me to recommend one thing based on your goals? Right? Cleo, example. I realized I never asked. Were you leaning towards something more bold or more neutral? I kind of go back and forth depending on the week. I used to overthink it, but then I just started picking what fits my vibe in the moment. Do you want me to build you a couple options to choose from? And then you could build them a cart, right? What about when someone says, I'll think about it? We say something like, that makes sense. Most people don't want to rush into something new. Is it more the cost you're thinking through or just wanting to make sure it works? I had the same hesitation at first, and if it helps, I can show you what I started with and why. So we're really like diving in to what is the actual root issue, right? Cleo example. And this is the I'll think about it message, right? I get that. I was skeptical the first time too. Was it more about how they last or just wanting to make sure they're worth it? I didn't believe they would hold up either until I actually tried them. Do you want me to show what mine looked like after a week? So you're like showing them like and asking them, can I send you information? You guys know I love to keep the conversation going by questions. So I'm not just saying, look at what mine looked like after a week. By asking them questions and inviting them to answer that question, it keeps the conversation going and it makes them feel more comfortable in the conversation, right? Okay, what about if we're starting a new conversation? We're going to use the curiosity approach. So these are people you haven't messaged yet. So we'll talk about pharmacy first. Random question. Been wondering, have you been thinking about getting back into a better routine lately? And I'm thinking about, I've been focusing a lot on the NutriPlus systems, right? The bundles with like the milkshake and L-carnitine and all that. So that's kind of where my mind's been at. And that's where this script is from. I feel like this time of year, it's either all in or completely off track. I found something that keeps me consistent without overcomplicating it. Do you want me to share what I've been using? And these are people that kind of liked my systems post or maybe commented on it, right? This is something I might say to them. And then a Cleo example. Quick question. Are you someone who loves having your nails done but hates the time and the cost? That used to be me completely. I switched to something new I can do at home in minutes and it actually lasts. Do you want to see how it works? So we're kind of building their curiosity. That's what these types of scripts are all about. Because when people get curious, they want to know more, right? What about if we want to talk about the opportunity? So pharmacy first. I've been thinking about you because you're already really into health and beauty. Have you thought about making extra income from the products you already use? I didn't see myself doing this at first either, but it ended up being way more simple than I expected. Do you want me to show you what it actually looks like behind the scenes? Cleo example, you came to my mind because you're always sharing cute nails and beauty stuff. Have you thought about turning that into something that pays you back? I started with no experience and I just shared what I liked. Do you want to see how people are actually making money with this? So we're opening up the conversation, right? Ending with a question. And what about if somebody's engaging in your content? I feel like we've gone through this a lot. So actually, I'm going to skip that part. And you guys can look at them unless you want me to. But I feel like we've talked a lot about people that are engaging in your content. So our key points here. We want to make it sound like something you would actually say out loud. So if you feel more comfortable sending voice memos, send a voice memo. If you think it's going to sound more real and more you and less scripted, I would send a voice memo. If you're worried about it sounding scripted, do the voice memo, right? It can, the thing I also love about voice memos is you can share your tone, your excitement, and people buy into that when they could hear that, right? Ask real questions, not rhetorical ones. So make sure it's something they can answer with an explanation, not necessarily a yes or no, and relate to them, but try not to over explain. And I know that that's hard sometimes, but try as best as you can not to over explain. When you find yourself typing and typing and typing, stop typing and reread it and try to think about it through their eyes and their lens, and think about how could you change it into a question that will make them want to know about the information you're getting ready to send, right? And always guide them to a more simple step, something simple, something easy. If people feel overwhelmed, they're gonna not take action. And we want to always keep it conversational, of course, not transactional. I have a little interactive practice if anybody is willing to be brave and try it out. Does anybody want to work through a little practice? I know this is asking a lot. What you would do is I'm going to give you a scenario, or actually, we'll do the brave part next. How about that? And what we'll do after this part here is I want you guys to look into your recent messages, somebody that has ghosted you, or the conversation went nowhere, or maybe the conversation was going good and it just stopped. And you're going to share with us what happened, and we'll talk about it together. I don't know if anybody's willing to be brave and do that, but I think it could be a good exercise. But let's just start with a scenario. And if you guys have something to write with, grab something to write with, okay, nearby. We're going to practice here. And I would love if you guys share what you write down and what you come up with, and just like unmute and share what you come up with, okay? So here's a scenario. Someone expressed interest. It's okay, Jennifer. Someone expressed interest, you sent information, and they didn't respond. Let's take 1 minute to write a follow-up message using the framework, and we'll share them if you guys feel comfortable. And you could unmute or you can type it in the chat. Up to you. Are you guys willing to do this? I know it's a busy time of night. Some of you guys might be busy, but I thought it might be fun to do something kind of interactive where we brainstorm and we talk it out together. So let me review the framework. Statement, like I was thinking about you, or circling back, whatever. And then question, to kind of dive into where their mind is, relate to what they might be feeling, and then invite. So statement, question, relate, and invite. Okay. And I'm going to go into my messages. So I'm going to give us a couple minutes here. I'm going to go into my messages and I'm going to do the same thing. Okay. So I'm going to look for an example of where I was talking to somebody and the conversation stopped. I found one and I'm typing. I'll share with you guys what I'm writing. Okay. So here's what I came up with. And if you guys want to share too, I would love it. So I have somebody that I met way back with Color Street. Way back with Color Street, I had met her at a vendor event and she tried Color Street. She shopped with me maybe a couple times. Her and I had talked back and forth about maybe joining my team. And then several months ago, I had reconnected with her again, just kind of following up, checking in with her, letting her know that I had switched brands. And to see if it was something she would be interested in. We kind of went back and forth for a while, months, and she never has shopped. And then I connected back with her again because she was talking about maybe joining again with Cleo, and she hasn't even tried Cleo. And last time I connected with her, like 2 months ago, she said she joined Red Aspen. Anyways, she was like, I'm not sure if it's going to go anywhere. I'll decide by April if I'm going to stay, or May, I think she said. So I had that in my notes and I connected back with her. Like, hey, I was just wondering how Red Aspen went for you and how things have been going. Anyways, she decided to quit Red Aspen and we were going to have a call. She was going to do the Meet Cleo call, never did it. We were going to meet for lunch. She lives locally. Never happened. So I had reached back to her earlier today and she said, she's just too busy. She doesn't have the time to sell anything. And, so I had said earlier today, some people like to join just to get the kit deal and get their own nails for 20 to 35% off and maybe casually share and sell. There's no monthly fees or minimums. So I just gave her a little chunk of information and she said, okay, I'll keep that in mind. So now I'm coming back to this framework. So this is what I'm going to send now. So I was just thinking, and I'm kind of curious, are you most interested in cute nails for a discount or casually sharing with others? I know that I was worried about time, but I also just love sharing the nails I love so much. What do you think about trying a set and seeing what you think? And I'm going to hit send. So she hasn't even tried Cleo. Maybe I need to backtrack and we need to get to that point and she'll see how much she loves them and we'll go from there. Okay. So it's as easy as that. And I think that when you have a framework to follow, it makes it a little bit easier, you know, to know what to say and how to open back up that conversation. Okay. Is anybody else willing to try it? I know it's hard. Putting you guys on the spot. I'm doing the teacher wait. Okay, you guys don't have to if you don't want to. Yeah, that's the thing. Like, as a teacher, it's like ask a question and wait. Give people plenty of time. You almost have to do an uncomfortable waiting period to give people time to think and decide. It's okay if you guys don't want to, totally fine. I get it. But I encourage you guys, look back at these notes, go back through messages that have kind of gone stale. Because I know that we've talked a lot about reaching out to people and getting a message going, but what do we do when the message dies? Right? So this is kind of like adding on to what we've already been learning. So I hope that you guys decide to try it out. By the way, okay, good. Yay, Brandy. I'm excited to hear that. Brandy said she's got some messages in mind that she's going to go back to. Perfect. That's what I was hoping. Also, I'm curious, did anybody get any messenger chat parties booked? Last week we talked about that. I have one booked for pharmacy for Monday. So if anybody wants to see in pharmacy how I run that, let me know. Send me a message. I'll add you to the chat. I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 people that said yes. And I just used the same message that I have in the boards folder that I shared with you guys. So I'm going to do that. I've been doing Clio parties, messenger parties too. So if anybody wants to see the Clio side and see how that works, let me know. I think my next one is, I think next week, if I remember correctly, maybe the following week. I was supposed to have one this Sunday, but she had to reschedule. So let me know if you guys want to be added into either of those to see them. Did anybody book any? Is anybody going to book one this month? Yes? Yay! Yeah, I know, Jennifer, you said you wanted in the chat. I have your name written down, so I'm going to be adding you to that. We're doing it Monday night. So I'm going to set the chat up on Friday. All right. Bye, guys. Have a good night.